Howdy folks, your Princess Chaotic Ayana here, and today we are keeping very zen, we are keeping very calm, and we are taking a look at a game that discusses the impermanence of life, and effectively reduces you to tears when it teaches you that everyone you love eventually leaves. It's going to be an interesting mix. Join me and let's take a look at Spiritfarer. So in Spiritfarer you play as Stella, who along with her cat Daffodil is tasked with taking over from Charon, the ferryman from Greek mythology, and yes, that is how you pronounce that before anyone asks. Your job is to take people across the River of the Dead and into the afterlife. You are literally their Spiritfarer. Your job is to get them onto the boat, get them ready to move on to the next life, and then take them to the door when they're ready to. This, it must be said, is not a particularly fast process. First of all, you have to find them on various islands, you have to encourage them to come and stay with you on the boat, you have to build them a house, you have to keep them fed and happy while they're on the boat, usually have them performing tasks, something to do with what their previous life was, and then you have to give them the occasional hug just for that extra bit of happiness. Incidentally, every single game I play from now on I want to have a dedicated hug button. It's going to make Doom Eternal fairly awkward, but I think the payoff's worth it. Each of the different spirits you meet has different likes, dislikes, dietary requirements, and their own stories and personalities. You divide your time between going to places that were important to each spirit, to growing crops on the boat, and later to having things like a sawmill, a foundry, an orchard, and generally just keeping the boat upgraded to keep everyone on it happy and busy. The place Spiritfarer shines most is in the writing and personalities of these spirits. Sometimes they will really tug at your heartstrings, especially when it comes time to say goodbye. First among the characters to me is Alice here, who is suffering from dementia and doesn't always know where she is. She kept asking me to help her walk to the front of the boat and wasn't going into a house, and I didn't understand why. Then one of the other characters pointed out to me that she was so frail she couldn't climb ladders anymore, and my heart absolutely broke. It did when it came time to say goodbye to her as well. Future Ayana, rate the level of sobbing I was doing, go on. Oh you bitch, you didn't need to bring him up. It does make for a weird sensation emotionally when you play knowing that this is what's going to happen. For example, this here is Uncle Atul. I am pretty sure he's moving on very shortly from where I'm at, and I don't want to see him go. The game does something so simple yet so effective to increase that emotional feeling. When a character moves on, it doesn't remove the housing or anything you made for them from the boat. That all stays, so you can still see the memories of who was there. It is fascinating to me that a game that has no combat loop like this one actually handles the consequences of death better than pretty much any that do. Especially given that it's kind of the objective here. You're the Spiritfarer, you're succeeding in the game when these characters are moving on and leaving. It's juxtaposed by the fact that honestly, the writing in the game is quite funny too. But all of that said, how does the game actually play? Well, outside from talking to a few crew members, a lot of things you need to do boil down to minigames. You can grow crops by watering them and playing your guitar while your little kitty sings along. It looks absolutely adorable, that's a word you're going to be hearing a lot of. You can catch lightning in a bottle, you can chop wood, again with the help of the cute little Daffodil here. You need to be very careful with all of these though. You see, I'm a gamer, and presumably if you're watching this, you're some sort of gamer. We have all been taught to min-max and increase efficiency to its maximum amount pretty much for as long as we've been able to pick up a controller. I don't recommend doing that here. There is no need to keep the foundry constantly going, to keep something constantly cooking, even to keep the fields constantly sown. The game just doesn't require you to do any one thing for very long, and if you try to do that, you're going to have a bad time. Most of the minigames you're only doing as the boat moves from one location to the next, and that never takes all that long anyway. None of the game's resources take a particularly huge amount of time to acquire, so just make stuff as you need it, and lean heavily into the explorative parts of the game. Let the minigames be what they are. They are something to distract you while the boat is moving. This is even true later on, when this adorable, there's that word again, magic seal offers you fast travel. So yeah, let's talk about adorable for a second, shall we? Everything in Spiritfarer is so charming and well animated. The look of surprise on the characters' faces before they lean into a hug. Daffodil not wanting to get wet, so she rides around on her little spirit ball. The way Uncle Atul sleeps. It's also very charming, and listen to how chill this music is. Everything is so damn, well, adorable, and so damn mellow as well. Even the characters' various mood modifiers, which I figured were going to be a problem early on, are so easy to keep up with. Most of them just need some food and a hug and they're happy for the day. I'm kind of jealous, honestly. All that said, the game does have a couple of chinks in its oh-so-adorable armour. The first, there were a couple of occasions where I wasn't 100% sure what I was supposed to be doing next. Now, what this usually turned out to be was that I was missing a crafting item of some sort, and it usually involved getting the next spirit on the boat, but the game had no way of making that clear to me. Secondly, and this was super rare, but occasionally I ended up with nothing to do on a longer journey and just ended up fishing. It didn't happen often, and it was honestly probably an indication I should have been using the fast travel for that particular trip, but yeah, it did happen. Finally, when you're on the islands themselves, there are a lot of puzzles that are based around platforming. I get the desire to make these bits feel a bit more action-orientated than when you're relaxing on the boat, but it is honestly pretty hit and miss, and it's not anything I think the game is going to be remembered for. So, it's probably pretty clear at this point that I love Spiritfarer, but would I recommend it to other people? Short answer, yes. However, first off, because I haven't been all that clear about this, for anyone looking for any kind of combat loop, or even a risk-reward style gameplay of any sort, look elsewhere, because that's not something you're going to find here. It's no negative on the game itself, but if you have ever used the phrase walking simulator in a derogatory fashion, you're probably going to apply it here as well. For those that are okay with this style, most definitely play it, because it's a super rewarding game. You are going to end up in the situation I'm in currently though. I would love to play the game to the finish, but I know O'Toole is probably going to leave next, and I'm going to be devastated. It kind of makes it hard to go back and pick up, and I do think that's something worth knowing going in. Also, I'll tell you guys a little personal story here. I was playing GTA 4 when it came out, and while I was doing my playthrough, a friend actually died in a car accident. And since, I've never been able to go back to the game, which I do consider kind of a shame, honestly. This has very similar properties. If you've had any kind of real-world bereavement of any sort, wait on picking this one up. It will hit far too close to home and ruin the experience for you. So there we have it, folks. Definitely a strong recommend on Spiritfarer from me. Emotional trauma aside, it is well worth playing, so go and give it a look. But next week, the time for Zen, the time for calm will be over. We are going to be taking a look at Call of Duty Black Ops. I will talk to you all then, folks. Until next week, peace. I'm out.